Pedro from A&P-REACTS. I'm here today with Steve from Within the Ruins to talk about their upcoming new album, Black Heart, out November 27. How's it going?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I guess all things considered, huh?
Yeah. Are you counting the days, though? Are you looking at the calendar on your fridge and scraping each day that goes by?
Every single day. Got the traditional red Sharpie, and I'm Xing out each day. That's great.
It's your advent calendar, but it's for an album release.
I know, right? Yeah. Have a little chocolate each day.
That's not a bad idea. I like that idea.
I should do that. More bands should, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be a great thing to release for the fans in anticipation for the album. So you get the chocolates, you get to perhaps hear like 2 or 3 seconds of a song when you open up the container.
Yes, a little preview. You get a little taste of the album each time, each day.
Exactly. See, like I'm giving you marketing tips here.
You are. We'll figure something out behind the scenes on this. That might be a thing.
I think this would be a total hit. I'm telling you, this would sell a lot of money. I mean,
it's not the worst idea. I mean, I guess, or maybe like for some metalheads, just do like a little those little mini things of booze.
Oh yes. Well, you can put booze inside the chocolate, so there you go.
Oh, there you go. Boom. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, the world's coming together. Now, as far as Black Heart is concerned, for those of us that don't know how you guys operate, how your mind works, how was the creative process and the creation of this album, the behind the scenes, the lead into it?
Sure. Well, for me, from my part, it was a lot of like just shitty experiences I've had over the last 3 to 4 years. And like after my old band broke up, I was kind of getting just comfortable doing regular life, normal life stuff, not doing the band thing anymore. And I just had a few like pretty bad things happen like behind the scenes. And then after fast forward to joining Ruins and writing this record, it was all stuff that I needed to get off my chest. And so I like really needed to talk about it. And for a lot of people, including myself, the music is your outlet and your way to put your stuff out there and kind of, it's your release. So for me, I needed to talk about all those things. And we knew that one of the songs I wanted to call Black Heart. But then as we were going over album titles and narrowing it down, we were just like, Black Heart kind of just works as a theme for all the songs for the most part. And it just worked the best. So we just ended up sticking with Black Heart. Like that's a strongest name we came up with. So we're like, let's do that. So it's a culmination of a lot of like bad experiences and anger and some sadness and stuff. And it just all melded together to make it what it is.
Those kind of experiences, sometimes I feel like negative experiences provide a better outlet to the music that you create versus positive experiences. It seems like the albums come out a lot more angry and with a lot more aggression, more intensity. Do you feel that way?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it worked out really well because that's usually how I write anyways. When I got into heavy music, what got me into it was like nu metal bands like Korn and Linkin Park, Slipknot, Mudvayne, all that stuff. And there was a lot of like raw aggression in what those guys were singing, but like they, it kind of made me feel when I was younger, like in middle school, I was like, man, I'm angry sometimes too. Like I get this. And so I think that I soaked up all of that when I was a kid, and my natural writing style was like to be a little bit more personal and stuff that people can identify with too. And just, people are angry. To me, it's not that if you're not writing about those things that the songs can't be good, but it's never been like my forte, I guess, to write about stuff that is not meaningless, but just doesn't have any personal connection for me. So I've always just kind of had that, like, I'm angry and here's stuff that I want to kind of give back though, because I know other people are angry and I want to give back to people what I got from music when I was a kid, that connection of like, oh man, I feel that way too. It's not just me. So that's just kind of a natural thing for me now, is writing that way. Yeah.
When you look at this record, I felt personally, and maybe I'm wrong here, that this album was divided into side A and side B. The structure of the record, the way it's put together, it almost feels like a vinyl. So regardless of how you're listening to this record, regardless if you're listening to it on iTunes or Spotify, whatever, it has this feel of having one side and then a second side. Do you see it that way, or I'm just seeing things?
I don't really know. I'm actually pulling it up to double check the order of the songs here, just to I don't want to misspeak here. Okay. No, I mean I see what you're saying, because it is actually kind of evenly divided because it's 10 tracks, and I think there's at the like end of each 5 there's an instrumental track. So in a way it is kind of like mirrored that way. As far as like lyrical content and stuff though, I mean they're kind of both evenly spread out. But I guess you could see how it's like almost symmetrical when it
Yeah, I
comes
was
to
thinking
like
about more from a structural perspective because you guys finish there's these two bookends of those instrumental tracks that kind of give you almost like a closing of the curtains at the end of each half. It has that sense to me, but at the
yeah.
same time, you could see also the beginning of the new chapter because if you're listening to the album on loop, the last song on the album becomes the intro to the first song on the album. So there's this sense of having two sides, but two sides that are interconnecting with each other.
Yeah, and it's kind of like it is kind of a cool divide where you're like, here's 4 songs with vocals, and then you get like a little break for the instrumental, and then you kind of get brought back in. I don't think it was necessarily done that way on purpose, but I think Joe did probably want to end the album with Ataxia, but originally that wasn't the idea. It just kind of, I think, turned out that way. But yeah, it is, when you look at it that way unintentionally, yeah, I can see it kind of being like a side A, side B for sure. It makes sense.
How do you guys merge when you're looking at the soundscape of this record? How do you guys merge the more technical side with the more aggressive side? Because I felt like you guys walked that fine line on every track.
Yeah, that kind of was a little bit me, but a little bit Joe. Like um, once Joe kind of knew where most of my songs were coming from, once we were like a few tracks in, he's like, okay, I get what Steve's saying. I get where he's trying to go with this. And before I joined, like the band was having some like internal issues, not amongst just members, but like it was just everybody had some stuff going on, and like they were upset about some things too. And so once Joe realized that I was coming in angry as well, he's like, this works perfectly because we've actually been kind of pissed off about some stuff. And so he kind of altered a few songs in like how he was writing, and he put some more aggression in there, some more just darker stuff. And I think overall the album has a very dark vibe to it, dark and angry, and more so than anything the band has released before. And it stemmed kind of from me being like pissed about some stuff, and then Joe was like, yeah, okay, I am too. And then he kind of, like I said, changed his writing to fit that and work with what I was doing a bit more. So he wanted to walk that fine line of, hey, we're still going to write within the Ruin style stuff, but it's going to be like in an aggressive way right now. This is just how it kind of all came together. The stars aligned in a way, I guess, from both coming from the same place and wanting to have the same feel. So yeah, it was definitely walking the line to do the technical but aggressive at the same time.
Yeah, it's not an easy line to walk. I always feel like for a band like you guys, there's always a tendency to either push it towards one or push it towards the other. It's really hard to bring both together and give the listener equal amounts of both. On this
Yeah.
record, I felt like we got that, not only musically, but even a little bit vocally.
Mm-hmm.
How do you look at how the vocals match the intensity, the aggression, but also the more technical side of the music? Do you feel like this is a record that's really well balanced, or there's a lot of diversity in it?
Both, I guess. I think balanced definitely, because like I said, if you listen to, Paolo was in the old band with me. We were called Silence the Messenger, and we were around for about 10 years. But if you're going to like attach, whatever subgenre you want to it, you could call it metalcore, deathcore, a lot more straightforward. But that was kind of where I was coming from. But I didn't want to just put like deathcore vocals over what Within the Ruins does. Like I did want to find a balance of like bringing my voice to the band, but also not overdoing it with too many lows or too many highs. And like I wanted to kind of walk that fine line of like kind of where Tim was, but be like, hey, I can still do the other ends of the spectrum and show off a little bit more. And the same thing with Paolo. When on some of the songs that have the clean singing, we took what he did in Halfway Human and kind of pushed it a little bit further to give it a little bit more angst and grit into what he was doing. So we kind of evolved that a little bit as well. So I'd say it's kind of balanced with the, where I was coming from and the writing style Joe ended up doing, but also kind of diverse in I'm bringing some of that older like deathcore style I used to do into a little bit, like peppered in here and there, but I didn't want to overdo it. But I think it is a little bit balanced, but also kind of diverse at the same time.
When you look at the big picture, the final results, now that you have the album, what is on this album that you're most proud of?
I think if I were to pick one I'm most proud of, it's probably the single that's going to drop the day it comes out, called Devil in Me. I think that song is probably the best structured one on the album. Not that the other ones aren't by any means. I think this one is just very, very, it sounds almost cliche, but it's like the clean, like radio style song that is just, very much like intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, out, the structure is there and it just sounds like, okay, that's the jam right there. That might be the memorable one, and I was just super proud of how that turned out. And the same thing with the music video. It was kind of, the music video for it is a bit of a stretch for what the band has done previously. So we're all pretty proud of how that turned out too. So overall, I just got to say, Devil in Me, that's the track that'll drop the day the album comes out.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks on the album. So you guys picked a good one to make a video.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got a lot of visual stuff going on in that video, so I think you'll like it.
Yeah, it's a very complete song. So I was actually surprised that it hadn't been released when I was listening to the album, that you guys hadn't released it as a single. Because when I was looking at the singles and I was looking at the track listing, that song immediately, as you go through the album the first time around, immediately jumps at you as such a cool. It has a little, like you said, it has a little bit of everything. I mean, it's still heavy, but at the same time, it's a song that you could almost call it radio friendly, even though I wouldn't consider it radio friendly, if you know what I mean. Like,
no, I know exactly what you mean. And that's kind of why, like, you're not going to hear it on like your local radio station necessarily. I mean, maybe some places, but like it's got that like Sirius XM vibe to it, where it's like very well structured, and like I said, the chorus is catchy but not overdone, and it's like metal catchy. I think you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I know what you mean by that. Yeah, radio friendly. That's definitely the radio jam, I guess you could say. But it does pop out at you. And we did want to release it as a single because we all felt that way about it. We're like, dude, this song is just front to back, like it's like the perfect song. But we wanted to come out with the other two songs first before we got to that one. We wanted to release Deliverance first because it's just straight up super in your face. It's got old school Within the Ruins vibes that everybody asks for. And, everyone has their feelings about clean singing. We're still doing that. That's not going anywhere. But we wanted to come out with one that was like kind of a punch to the face and be like, hey, we're still here. We're still going to bring it. And we wanted to come out with that one first. And then we can get into the singing ones and stuff like that. But so, yeah, Deliverance needed to be first. We all thought, like, let's do a heavy hitter right up front.
Let's kick everybody in the groin, and then after they compose themselves, we can give them something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the plan, because I think we all thought that if we released Devil in Me first, it's not that it would have been bad, but I think less people would have been impressed. They would have been more just like, okay, this is just what Within the Ruins does now. They, there's some singing involved, and like I said, everyone's got their feelings about that, but I don't think it would have been as impressive to come out with something like that first.
I get what you're saying. It's easier to bring people in with something they're familiar with, and then hit something a little bit different down the road, because by then they're already in. The chips are already in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah, and we kind of structured them to where like it's like the heaviest, fastest one first, and then Blackheart is like still heavy and fast, but it's it's catchy and has the singing and stuff, and then it's like the heavy breakdown at the end, and then leads you into the third single is like the more radio jam one. So it's like we get you there. It's a progression, but that was the way we felt was probably the best way to do it.
Now that you have the experience of being in the studio with these guys, what part of being in the studio with them did you enjoy the most?
There's two ways I can answer this. The professional way is getting to record with new guys and figure out how other musicians in another band that you're new to work. And because I've always loved the behind the scenes like recording. Like some guys don't like to be a part of it. Like they come in and do their stuff and then they bounce. I've always been like, no, I want to sit on the couch and watch the guys do their thing, and I want to watch the engineer do his thing. And I love the behind the scenes stuff. Like to me, that's super interesting. So the professional answer to your question is watching the guys do their thing, and getting to work with Joe. And I love how Joe's mind works. It's great. And then getting to work with Paolo again in the studio, creating again, that was just fun. I like that a lot. The non-serious answer is that Joe's studio is attached to a brewery that he owns. So we can literally take breaks, walk through a door, grab some beers, come back and get to work. So we just kind of have like an endless beer supply available to us. So that's my fun answer to the question. I couldn't decide which way I wanted to go with that.
I think the two kind of like complement each other.
They do though, because it's part of the.
You can chill on the sofa and have a beer.
Yep, chill on the sofa, have a beer. But then for a lot of people, and I would say ourselves included, it gets the brain juices going, you know. The equivalent of some of those guys that are like, I need to smoke weed to play guitar. Like, cool, that's your thing, do it, whatever. We're beer drinkers, so we just get like real pumped and start vibing off each other too. Like we're not like hammered fucking around or anything, but it's, you know, if you're having some beers and stuff and you kind of just loosen up and you kind of get ballsier, I guess. You want to be more creative and you're less afraid to take risks, you know, and you're just trying new stuff. And we tried plenty of new things on this record and we were like real excited about it. So, but I think the beer thing, you know, as funny as it is, it does kind of go hand in hand with, you know, a lot of guys drink in the studio. So we just had it at our disposal. We didn't have to go anywhere.
You guys are balling.
Mm-hmm. It's the perfect setup. It's absolutely the perfect setup. We have the studio. We can do everything ourselves. He owns his own brewery, does all this stuff, and so we're set, man. It's gold.
Cool. When you look at this record, is this album defined by 10 individual tracks, or it's going to be defined by its whole?
The whole, definitely the whole. Most of them, except for besides the instrumental tracks, most of the songs are interwoven in a way like either directly dealing with each other or stemming from each other. Most of it, honestly, to me, the reason we named the album Black Heart is I think because most of the songs kind of are related to that. There's like follow up from what the song is about, like the aftermath and dealing with it personally, or things that are just angry in a similar level about, you know, whatever you want to apply to your life for the songs, you know, make them yours. They're mine and they mean certain things to me, but if you find some meaning in them, take it, run with it, you know, make it yours and connect with it. That's what I hope people get from it. But they're all kind of, they're all very similar in terms of like the lyrical content, definitely. So I'd say it's all about the whole. They're connected and similar for a reason. So I'd say it's definitely about the whole, not just tracks. And I kind of did the same thing when I first joined the band, we released two singles just to kind of introduce myself to people. It was World Undone and Resurgence. And the label and Joe were like, okay, we're going to drop 2 songs. And the way my brain works is I was like, well, if we're going to drop 2 songs, I should make them related. I should make them be like two halves of the same piece. And so Resurgence is like the aftermath of what World Undone is about. So I was like, let's just make them 2 pieces that go together instead of writing 2 random songs like that for no, like, then what's the point of having 2 songs just, you know, that don't mean anything? Like, let's make them be a thing. And that's why if you look at the World Undone Resurgence artwork, it's mirrored and symmetrical. Like one's the character kind of in a darker situation and the other character is lighter. Like it's kind of like he's come out of that darkness. But the whole image is mirrored and symmetrical because they're connected. It's like one piece. And so I did that when I first got in, and that was kind of the same idea here with the album. I'd rather it be, not every song has to be the exact same, but you know, I'd rather it kind of be like, here's more or less the vibe and the feel or the theme of this album instead of just 10 random tracks, you know?
Yeah, it helps connect the record because it also allows, in my opinion, my humble opinion, it allows you guys to be a little bit more diverse in where you want to push each and every single song musically. Because at least there's a red line through the album that you can follow. You can follow that path. You're not just wandering around and like, otherwise it almost feels like a compilation. It doesn't
exactly.
feel like a record.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Because then it's just, instead of having a bunch of, and you know, bands do this. It's not like if you're wrong if you don't do it this way. But I think I would agree with you.
Right? For me, I prefer this way.
I agree too. I'm totally with you. I agree. It's like I think I like the idea of an album that has a similar vibe all the way through, and the songs more or less, they don't have to connect or anything, but like you said, kind of follow that line, and they can kind of stem and break off a little bit here and there, but it's got a pathway to the end, you know, versus like, here's 10 or 12 tracks that we came up with and hope you enjoy it, you know, like, you know,
I think you want to be able to listen to one song and you know exactly what album did that song come from. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not like, oh, you know, what album is that one from? I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Have that common factor, whatever that factor is going to be, that unifies the record, so that you can associate every song with that album. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like you hear one and you're like, ah, immediately, like I recognize, that guitar tone. I recognize the key that it might be in. Like, hey, this is from this album and this one's from this album. And you, like you said, you hear that one and you get it right away. I love that. Instead of hearing a song, you're like, dude, this could have been from any album over the last 10 years from this band. And we kind of try to do the same thing with the artwork. Like if you kind of look back, like each album has had like kind of a specific color set. Like Creature was kind of like pinkish green, blue. Then you had Invade, that was like a darker purple maroon kind of ish, maybe with some white. And then Elite was like just blue. And you had Phenomena, that was pretty much mostly green. And then Halfway Human was like a blue with orange. Like, and now this one we're like, we need, like, the record's dark, let's make it darker. So we did, we're like, we haven't done red before, let's do red. And then obviously we call it a Black Heart, so there's gonna be some black, but like we're like, we've never done red before. So we kind of did the same thing. Like each record has a feel to it, it has a vibe, but it, also has a visual that's attached to it. And we did the same thing with the music videos. They each have a feel to it, and they're kind of each connected in their own little way. There's little details that are in all three. I agree with you 100%, and we're right here on it. Like, have the vibe, man.
Great,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's. I think I don't know. Again, personal preference. You don't. It's not like you're wrong if you don't. But I think I
agree.
Totally agree.
Not to knock anybody who doesn't follow that path or decide.
No, not at all. Not at all.
To each his own. It's just, for me, it's a personal preference. I like a record to have that unity to it. I don't mind it if it's like a compilation or a live record, that obviously it's going to have different dynamics, but I enjoy my records that have that something that unifies the album. It could be the vocals, the lyrics, the lyrical theme across the album, something. I need at least one single element that I can see present in all the songs as you move along.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super with you. It just kind of, plus it helps kind of keep like your album cycle in check too, because then along with what you guys do with the lyrical themes and then album artwork, then you attach different merch designs to that, and it becomes this whole album cycle of like, hey, this is what we were doing for these 2 years or what have you, and it's, so you could also pick up a piece of merch from around that time and be like, this was during the Black Heart era, and this was during Elite era and stuff like that. Like it's a whole thing, and that's the kind of stuff that I love about it, though. I love that everything about being in a band, I fell in love with, about like from creating to the technical side of it in the studio to merch. I love merch. That's just a whole nother, like, you get to be creative and, use your brain a bit more, and just tying everything together is awesome to me. So I'm with you, man. The vibe is important.
For sure. Now, I've heard the album. Obviously, you heard the album.
A few times.
How would you describe this record to somebody who hasn't heard the album yet?
Probably to like expand on what I was saying earlier. The obvious thing is that it's going to be me and not Tim, so there's a little bit of an adjustment for everybody involved. But so far the response has been great to the singles. Everybody's loving it for the most part. You're going to have those diehards that are like, it's not Tim, and like, I get it, whatever, that's fine. People are going to be like that. You're just used to something for 10 years, but I get it. Besides that, though, I mean, I think this is, like I said, probably the darkest, angriest, and probably most personal album that Ruins has put out before. Not that the other songs are meaningless by any means. That's not what I'm saying, and that's not a slam on Tim at all. Like, me and Tim are buds, so like we just probably write a little bit different. But I think it's definitely the most angry and personal record, and like I said, darkest that the band's put out so far. So besides my voice, I think that's what you could easily expect from it, is some like pissed off shit.
Yeah, some darkness
for sure.
One last question for you. What are your expectations for this album? Like, what's like that top of the mountain goal for you with this record?
It's tough to say, because with COVID and stuff, it's like, well, I could say, oh, well, I hope the album has great first week and we get on this tour with these bands and whatever. But like right now, I mean, I could say any of that, but who knows when that's going to be coming down the pipe? You know, it's obviously not till next year sometime, but you know, who knows? So, I mean, I think it kind of, because of the situation we're in, and you can only do so much. I think it keeps my expectations a little bit more modest. But all I'm kind of hoping for is like, I hope people enjoy it. That's really what I actually want. You know, yeah, if you can pick it up, if you can, you know, afford it right now to buy the album, sure, yes, please do. You've heard the spiel from bands a million times. The first week sales are important, but given that we don't know when touring is going to pick back up, you know, it kind of just is what it is right now. So what I'm mostly hoping for is that people just enjoy it and they're receptive and accepting of what I did. They at least understand it. And I know there's going to be an adjustment period where people are still kind of getting used to me being the guy now, but I'm in a good way. I think I'm just kind of keeping the bar right here instead of like way up here, just because you can only do so much right now. So I think my biggest hope and dream for it is that it just does well. Like, you know, streaming numbers would be nice. But honestly, I just want people to dig it. That's what I want. We're kind of reintroducing the band right now. It's like a fresh start for all of us. The guys definitely feel rejuvenated after I joined and we got all this done, and everybody's really stoked about it, including the label. And like I said, all the fans I'm seeing the feedback from, it seems to be going really, really well. And honestly, that's the best I can hope for right now. And that's where I'm going to probably keep my expectations is I just want people to enjoy it.
Well, I enjoyed it, so at least you got one guy on your side. So it's a
I'll
start.
take it.
It's a
I'll
start.
take it, man.
This is a start. So I really dig the album. I think you guys did a phenomenal job on the record. It was really
Thanks, man.
enjoyable. And I just love everything about the album. I was really stoked to listen to it, and I wasn't disappointed in the least. I just love the
Awesome.
record top to bottom. Even the instrumental tracks add. It's not my cup of tea, but I really enjoyed them and how you guys put them together in the album, because they almost work as intros or interludes, if you will, within the record setting. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed what you guys did here. So congratulations.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, brother.
All the best, man. It was nice talking to you, Steve. All the best with the release. It comes out once again, Black Heart, November 27th. Go pick it up if you can. Buy the vinyl, play it at home, play it loud and proud at home.
Oh, yeah.
And enjoy the new record, enjoy the new sound, and all the best to you and the guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Cheers.